So we're going to go over Module 1. To find Module 1, you'll go to our course shell, and then on the left-hand side, you'll click on Modules. You'll see that Module 1 is organized very much like the pre-module, and that was by design. The thinking was that the pre-module would serve as a tutorial or as kind of a walkthrough on how to take the course. So Module 1 is organized in the same way, and it starts with the module overview document. Then it has some resources for reading. It has a self-check based on those resources. There are 2 discussion questions. The first one is during week 3, and the second one is during week 5. And then you'll have a journal entry. So let's go ahead and access the module overview document, which walks you through the entire module. So like for the rest of the course, modules will run for 4 weeks. So this one will run from weeks 2 through weeks 5. And this module 1 is based on a theme, and that theme is pre-modernism. So what we'll be looking at is the worldview that transitions from theism to deism. And although it's kind of difficult to know when the modern era actually begins, depending on the field of study. So for instance, in philosophy, modern philosophy happens far earlier than, say, modern art. What we're working with is the people and the thinking and the cultures that started right before the modern era and eventually lead into modern philosophy, modern literature, and modern art. We're going to be addressing these essential questions over the next 4 weeks. How do the arts reflect their time? How does the shift from theism to humanism and then to deism and rationalism change human culture in drastic and profound ways? And then how do speakers, ranging from politicians to poets to propagandists, influence their audiences? Is it fair to judge a people of another time by what we know and understand today? And should we judge them based on the context of their own time or ours? So our main topics we'll be looking at are the Enlightenment, Romanticism, and Realism, as well as industrialism, new colonialism, and imperialism. We'll be looking at the theorists Milton, Newton, Jefferson, Mozart, and Blake. And I've called them theorists because they're not only artists and writers and philosophers, but they also are working through this idea of the transition of theism to deism. And then finally, we'll wrap things up with the scientific revolution and the God of the gaps. Here are your required studies. For this first module, you can go ahead and preview the textbook, but I've created a packet pulling from some of the works that Fierro talks about before our textbook starts. And so you're going to want to work through that packet. That packet has most of our readings that we need. There's also a handful of links to some outside resources, things like the works created by Thomas Jefferson, some information about Sir Isaac Newton, the idea of the transition from deism to theism, some playlists by Mozart that I'd like you to listen to, some of the artworks created by William Blake, and then a synopsis of Milton's Paradise Lost, a piece of literature. So you'll see that we follow the same kind of pattern for all of our modules, and you'll be working on these weekly discussions, the self-check, and the journal entry. As you're working through the different assignments and tasks, I always recommend kind of looking back on the main topics, looking at those required studies to help you answer your questions. Look at the essential questions that I've created to tell you what I'm looking for and kind of our goals. And then, as always, double check your tasks that you're creating and look at how maybe the self-check can help you with the journal and how the journal can help you with the discussions. When we write a journal in this class, we're going to look at specific artifacts and artworks and objects that come out of the time period that we're studying. And then we're going to analyze those artworks and those objects through a modified Venn diagram, right? And this modified Venn diagram is intended to be your outline for your journal. Your journal is formal writing, so you'll be writing an actual essay, but I recommend using this Venn diagram to help you kind of shape your thoughts. So Fierro does a really nice job at the beginning of our text, walking us through the 3 main points of understanding the humanities, and that's context, subtext, and text. So text for us isn't just the written word. It also includes things like music and artwork, because we can read artwork and music. And what I mean by that is that the same skill we use to read and decode words from a page, we can also use to decode symbols in a painting or understand the deeper meanings of music and composition. So all artworks, all artifacts fall under text for us, and we're looking at these things in a very specific lens, and an analytical lens, where we're trying to understand the meaning by decoding the message. That message is influenced by context. That's the background of things, right? The historical, the cultural, or the environment in which the artist is working. And then the subtext. So these are the things about interpretation and inference, right? So we make inferences by making educated guesses about meaning and purpose. We make interpretations from particular points of view. So your goal during the journal is to use this graphic organizer to analyze artworks in our text. So once you leave our module overview document, you're going to go back to the module, and you're going to start working through the different assignments. The self-check, which is a quiz, the 2 discussions, and then your journal. I've outlined it in this way because I believe this is the way that makes the most sense for completion. So if it was me taking the course, I would start with the self-check. Then I would work on week's 3 discussion. Then I might go back and do some more reading and kind of brush up on some of the multimedia resources and work on week 5. And then I would work on the journal entry last, okay? Now, this is the way this course is organized. You have 4 weeks to complete all of this work. So starting week 2 all the way through the end of week 5. Now, I recommend working each week on 1 or 2 assignments and not procrastinating to the end. However, there is no penalty for procrastinating to the end. You just typically have to do a little bit more work if you're going to do so. All right. So I'll give you a nice preview of the self-check. So this is the self-check. You can see how it looks. You can see that it has kind of an overview to it. And then if you want to try to take a look at the test itself, most of the questions are multiple choice. There are some true false. And you typically have around 4 hours to complete it. And then you have multiple tries. So that's the self-check. Then the next thing is the discussions. So the first discussion that we have here is week 3. So by the end of week 3, you would want to do this. Now, if you don't complete this by the end of week 3, it's okay. You actually have the whole module to work on it. The difference is if you wait, you have to write more. So for week 3, what you're going to be doing is you're going to choose a key term that's a word or concept that's significant from your textbook or the multimedia resources or any of the additional articles that I provide. Then you're going to define this term in your own words, but you must do a different topic than your peers. And it is first come, first serve. So if someone in the class chooses to go over Newton's theory of gravity and you wanted to do the same thing and you recognize that they posted already, you cannot do Newton's theory of gravity. I mean, you could submit it, I just won't grade it. It's first come, first serve. All right. And then once you've done that, you're going to go through, look at your peers, and you're going to respond. Now, as always, avoid fillers. That means don't just talk or repeat exactly what the other person said. You're trying to contribute new ideas, expand on what they had said. Agree or disagree with them, take a stance, and explain your reason. All right, that's discussion 3. Then, if you want to look at discussion 5, this is an annotated bibliography. So if you've never written an annotated bibliography before, I recommend going to this website right here. It's from the University of Purdue. Does a really great job of walking through how to create one of these. Just like the previous discussion, you must choose a different topic than your peers. So if you do the same topic as someone else, that won't be counted. So you're going to choose a key topic from the module's readings. Make sure it's specific, and so it's not too general like the arts or humanities. you want to look at actual people or artworks or musical compositions, pick something very specific. And then you're going to read an article based on that. So you want to find a scholarly article, either using the school's library or Google Scholar on that topic. You're going to read that and then summarize it and analyze it following these guidelines posted at Purdue. Once you've posted your annotated bibliography, go look at your peers and respond to it. And just like the last one, you want to do this of substance. So you want to ask questions, disagree or agree, and make some cases and explain why. Okay. Then the last thing you're going to do for this module is the journal. And you'll see that the journal is formal writing, but it is short. It's only 300 words. So that works out to be about a page, maybe a page and a half, double space. What you do is you're going to use that graphic organizer that I showed you in the overview document, and you're going to outline your topic. You're going to follow these steps of pre-writing, writing, and then rewriting, and then submit your journal right here in the Canvas shell. This is the rubric that I use for the journal, and it's actually the rubric I use for all writing assignments. I'm looking for both quality, so how good you're doing on the work, and then quantity, that you are meeting and exceeding the word counts, right? So I highly recommend taking a look at that. I will actually be sending out more information about your journal and journal topics throughout the next couple of weeks, so be on the lookout for that. All right, so that gives us a nice overview of Module 1. As always, if you've got questions, comments, or concerns, please reach out to me. I look forward to looking through your work. Take care and good luck.